I think much more carefully about what I buy now. So I still do have things like chocolate every now and again, but probably not as much as I used to. And I do really read the food labels. They're really helpful for me to work out the amount of carbohydrate because I adjust my insulin to go with the carbohydrate I eat. So I think more carefully about that. Like everybody else, I try and buy more fruit and vegetables than I can possibly eat in a week and all of those other things, to try and think about healthy things too. But it's really for me about carbohydrate counting and thinking about whether I'm going to have enough and how I might need to adjust my insulin. I think, like most people, sort of shopping is quite a routine thing. We tend to sort of buy the same things over and over again. So at the beginning, it's quite a steep learning curve, and you sit there reading all the labels to find things out. After a while, you get used to knowing what you can buy and what you're used to buying, and it becomes much easier. But if it's something I haven't tried before, yeah, I look at the label. It's the first thing I do. Try and cut down on fat, so try and not use a lot of fat in cooking, or use things like olive oil, more healthy choices. Definitely try and think about the amount of carbohydrate I'm eating and try and keep that to a reasonable amount. And I suppose I just really try and eat a healthy, balanced diet, so don't really do anything that differently, but just perhaps think a little bit more about it than I did before I had diabetes, when it was just grab whatever you could. I think eating out's much harder. One of the big problems I've found, taking insulin, ideally you should take it before you eat. And sometimes you just have no idea how long that's going to be before dinner arrives. And when it does arrive, it might look lovely. And you take your insulin, have a mouthful, and you think, oh, that's revolting. You know, they've covered it in goat's cheese or something. So I always tend to inject as soon as I've finished my meal, which isn't ideal. But if you're only eating out occasionally, I think that's fine. The best thing is also to make sure that you check if you're not sure about anything on a menu. So ask about what's in it. And if there isn't very much carbohydrate or stuff like that in the food, ask for extra bread or extra vegetables instead of other portions. I think most restaurants are quite happy to oblige now. So ask for what you want, but think about taking your insulin or your medication perhaps a little bit after you've eaten rather than relying on the food to actually be the same as it would be at home. I think when I was first diagnosed with diabetes, I was sort of probably much more puritanical than I am now. So chocolate was a real occasional treat. I think I'm a bit less like that now. So I don't really miss anything. And I think, in fact, I've got used to the healthier choices that I make anyway. And I can still have the bar of chocolate when I want it, as long as I adjust my insulin accordingly. So there's nothing I really miss.